and welcome to another episode of Musso. It's another Monday morning. We hope you're all doing well. We're your hosts, Ngone, Hadi, and Jama. On this podcast, as you know, we share a microphone for fresh conversations on current affairs and women's realities beyond a single story. Ladies, how are you guys doing? Hadi?
I'm very hungry.
You look like you're over everything.
I'm sleepy. I'm just deprived of life right now. But when I leave here, my plan is to go to Plastic Ink and get some wings.
I tried their wings.
They're amazing. They have some of the best wings in the country.
I was a bit disappointed because I wanted spicy and it wasn't spicy enough for me, but it was very tasty.
What kind did you get? Hot or like?
I got like spicy barbecue. Yeah.
Oh, it's not too spicy.
Yeah.
Because I think all of their sauces are like mainly very American.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought it would be spicy, but other than that, it was good.
Just add your candy when you get home.
Yeah. Gemma?
I'm tired. And this is something, unfortunately, that you all listeners are going to keep hearing from me until I get a break. I am tired. But also just sitting here, and munge sink in there. It's actually the weekend and I don't have a weekend yet again.
Samesies.
We're all working this weekend.
Samesies.
See, this is why I need my Dangote to come and rescue me.
You're a feminist and you want a man to rescue you?
Yes.
You want
I want
man's
a billionaire
money?
to rescue me.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That was a Bill Gates, since now he's
And I sent him a tweet the other day, but he ignored me.
I wonder how many DMs they keep getting in this period, since the
I
announcement.
need to send him a thirst trap at this point.
Yeah, I can't wait for the scandal to unfold because there's some really tasty stuff coming out. Saucy
really?
things about it. Yeah, I can't wait for
Oh,
it.
it's missing out.
Okay.
Ngone, how are you?
Okay.
If you were tired.
She just said she
No.
wants to sugar daddy, so that tells you what she is.
I've had a long week. Like, the week was already long enough, and then I woke up and my supervisor sent me this whole list of things. So I'm working on a project, and the project is ending in July. So now he sent me like 5 different mini projects that we need to implement between now and then, and I read it and I just saw my life flash before my eyes. Because when I say I need Dangote to come and rescue me, I need it. But alhamdulillah, life goes on.
Yeah,
This is the story of our lives.
I wish you could all see our faces right now. We're so defeated.
It's like adulting. When we were coming, when we were talking about how we miss when we were younger, and then I just let idle the whole day, just chill, just do nothing.
Now you actually have to plan your going out, and it's like,
and where you're gonna go,
and how much money you have to be able to do that going out. And whether that going out,
is worth
staying in bed is not better than not going out.
You know how people see me, my friends now? They've realized you literally just have to come stand at the buntiket
and say,
and call me and be like, yeah, I'm outside, come outside. So I come outside, we say hello, hi, what done for a few minutes, and be like, oh, I gotta go back to work, bye.
That's sad, but that's the story of our lives. Anyway, to this week's topic, it's gonna be a heavy one, as usual for us. But yeah, trigger warning. There's going to be talk about sexual assault. There's going to be talk about violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence. So if you feel that this is going to be heavy for you, this is a chance to do what's best for you. And if it means stop listening, you can do that. That is totally okay. And if you're going to go ahead, we hope you would take the steps you need to be okay after you finish listening.
Or even if it's, if you want to just take a few deep breaths after every few minutes of every listen, that's fine too. Just remember to center yourself and to step away when needed. And I know that it's for a lot of us, it's the reality that you can't step away from. But if at any point, this podcast triggers you or whatever we're saying, it's just too heavy for you, please just stop. And remember that you have to put your mental health and your well-being first. Even if it's a person living through a reality of gender-based violence or whatnot, you don't have to live through it and then listen to someone else talk about it too. So take the time that you need.
Also, that we'll be talking about murder as well. So if that's something that could trigger you, you could also take your steps. The podcast is always going to be on the platform. You can always come back to it whenever you're ready to.
All right, let's get into it. Our topic for this week is the state of insecurity in the Gambia and who's next, which is a question that we're all asking ourselves. Who's next? Who's going to be hit the next time, armed robbers or the thieves or the rapists or, strike again? And to get into it, we will start with a quote from Jama Jack, and it reads, "When will my turn come? Will I also become a hashtag? Will my blood be splattered all over social media, the memory indelible for the people who love me and have to deal with that? Will they try to find out what I was wearing? Will they ask why I was at home? What will they say?" Yeah, I think these are questions that we've all been asking, especially in terms of how people have been reacting. The violence that we've seen rising, not even in the past few weeks, but in the past couple of years, really. Because I remember the Save Gambian Women hashtag actually started towards the end of 2019, and we're now in 2021, and we're still dealing with these realities. It started from, taxi drivers assaulting young women or just women using their services, to now thieves breaking into homes, young women being raped in their homes and then killed or allegedly raped as well, because we're not certain on the outcome of those investigations, but also armed robbers striking homes in the middle of the night, beating up people, threatening people. It's been a lot. It's really been a lot. It's really been a lot. Just last week, a few weeks ago, there was also the story of a woman who was allegedly killed in her house by someone who, according to witnesses, owed her money. That's the suspect. And yeah, if you're a woman or any person using social media right now, it's been very triggering, but especially for people who have actually dealt with these cases of violence and seeing the way people react to the violence that you have suffered. It's really been a lot. It has really been a lot. And I don't know, Gemma, what do you think of the rising cases of insecurity in the country?
To tell you the truth, I'm scared. And when I say I'm scared, it's not just me. It's everyone around me. Because now, I like to just go out, gain at them, do my stuff. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I come home late. And these days, my mom keeps telling me every single day, when are you coming back home? When I stay out till 8 p.m., this is 8 p.m. Mm-hmm. She's calling to see where I am, what routes I'm going to take to come home. When it's nighttime and everybody locks the doors, she comes back taking us a buntabe, even though we've locked everywhere in the house. And I think it's really just all of the things that we are seeing. So I don't even know if it is a rising case. It's a case of, increase in the violence, or it's a case of increase in the mediatization of the violence. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if these things were happening at this scale previously, we would hear about them as well. Mm-hmm. So maybe it is actually an increase in just the impunity and just the way that people just do it and don't care any longer. Mm-hmm. So every day, or every other day, I go on the Gambia Police Force page on Facebook, the Police Soul magazine, since they launched this Operation Zero Crime, or whatever they call it. And then you look at the images and you see the kinds of weapons that people are moving around with. Mm-hmm. And all it does is take me back to Morocco. Because that was the only place where I saw those weapons. They had cutlasses and all of that. That's what they attack you with, to take stuff from you. And if you resist, obviously they use it on you. They hurt you, they kill you. I lost a lot of colleagues while I was studying to that violence. It was normal. It shouldn't be normal, but it was normal for us to wake up and hear, oh, somebody else got killed. Mm-hmm. This person got killed. And so for me, all of my time there was spent thinking, will I ever go back home, or will I also suffer the same fate? Mm-hmm. And so when I see those weapons, that's what I think. I'm like, is this where we have arrived? Mm-hmm. Because they used to do these razor blades, tiny knives and stuff, but you're seeing and these are new, and it looks like somebody's making business on it. It's imported. Yeah. So for me, it's really just what's happening? Mm-hmm. Where are we headed? Where are we headed? Where is it going? And that is why, I have that quote. Because for me, it's what tells me that I'll be safe? Mm-hmm. with all the measures I take, with all who says that all of the people have already fallen victim, were not taking those precautions and those measures, and what tells me that I'm the special one that's gonna be safe. So for me, it's now a question of, if it's gonna happen to me, how serious is it going to be? Is it what will take me out? And it's a really scary place to be in.
No, it is, because yesterday so I like to just walk, because I'm someone that actually enjoys just walking and walking, and that I guess just being in London, you're used to walking everywhere if you feel like it. So for me, even like when the whole time I've been here, I like to just walk up to this to the main road to get food, whatever it is that I need to get. But like I remember yesterday, I was walking back and it was around maybe 8 p.m. so it had already gotten dark. And I kept thinking about how, like, my aunt, my taxi driver, all of them were like, I need to stop walking because it's not safe. And just walking, there were, like, just men around the area. And yesterday was, like, one of those first moments where I was genuinely so fearful of my life in this country. Because I was like, yes, it's a 3-minute walk back to my house. But what could happen to me within those 3 minutes? And it's just men around. Literally, it's just men around. It's boys, it's older men. But you don't know which of them could be the problem. And it's so sad, because I keep thinking about how, like, with once cases of instability rise in countries, it's mainly because cases of poverty have risen. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this, butter is a blood clot. Because you can't have place, when we can't be in this current situation where every single person, be it man, be it woman, be it, boy, girl, every gender, every kind of person is scared for their lives. Because it could be that you're working somewhere and then they come and they break in at your job and then they take your money. Or look at a father and 3 children in their house. And then they come in and then they steal whatever it is and they're threatening to kill you. But then all you're doing is just rubbing your big pot belly on TV, talking about
to win the next election.
Trying to win the next election, when you're not going to have, first of all, he doesn't even serve people. But if he was, you will not have people to serve, because everyone is getting killed or everyone is trying to flee the country. What kind of country are you governing when there's no one left in it?
It's crazy.
He doesn't care. And then it makes me upset, because again, people will be like, oh, if Jammeh was here, we wouldn't have all these issues. That is problematic on its own, and that's a discussion for another day. But like, what kind of man are you that people are wishing for a murderer to come back? Because you're so sorry, let's move on, because I'm not going to keep going.
Right, because the other day, somebody I know posted on WhatsApp that I think for the second time in a few weeks, their house was attacked. As in, their windows, burglar-proof, were broken down and everything, and the armed robbers came in and whatever. And the person posted that, if Jammeh were around, all he would do is make a statement from State House and everyone would just get in line. And like you said, that's a messed up thing to think, because, we all know everything, all the harm that Jammeh has done, people who have been killed, people who have been disappeared and sexually assaulted and everything. But for it to get to a point where people would actually wish that kind of person to come back to power, then something is really, really wrong. Something is really wrong.
He hasn't even, it's one thing to even attempt to make a statement. He hasn't even attempted to make a statement. He hasn't
acknowledge that it's like
anything is going on.
I keep asking if we live in the same Gambia, because it's not, okay, let's just assume that, he doesn't know what's happening, which is nonsense anyway, because you're the leader of the country and you should be getting your briefs every day. But what about the people around him? What about the people who are working with him? What about the people who are responsible for dealing with these things and who are responsible, for bringing it to his attention? What are they doing? What is everyone doing? Why are we in this state?
Just the other day I was thinking, we have a Ministry of Interior.
Who's the minister?
Yankuba Sanyang or something.
He should resign.
In addition to that, we have a defense ministry.
He should resign too. He or she. They should all resign.
A minister for defense. We have a minister of interior. You have a ministry for women's affairs. And this is relevant because as we progress into the topic, we're going to be talking about women who've also been victims of these crimes. You have the vice president who, unless I'm wrong, is the chairperson of the National Security Council, I think. So, do we have a government? That's the question.
And what happened to the security reform?
Yes, because sometimes it even seems as if the police are working in a vacuum. Because honestly, as much as we are against the police, they've also, they've been doing a lot. Because I think last week I saw a report from the Poliso magazine that since they started the raids in April, they've actually arrested 681 suspects. That's a lot of people. That's a lot. So that shows you that they're doing the best that they can in that short time.
How wild is it that they've arrested that many people, but then crimes are going up? Okay. Like these arrests, basically, the criminals, for the lack of a better word, they don't care.
No, I know, but I also feel like the arrests usually target the boys and people who are in the
and not the
upper actual kingpins who have access to like what's it called, the other incident, people who have access to alleged guns,
weapons,
and it's sad.
And all those weapons. Those people are not getting arrested because when you see them in the streets, you probably would not think that they're the ones committing these crimes. It's easier to arrest a boy in the street smoking weed, holding a small knife or whatever, than to actually go after someone who has the means to basically orchestrate an attack that involves over 10 people against one family. That's crazy.
And I'm not even saying that if everyone had, livable wages or not, crime would just never happen again. But if we lived in a country with financial stability, with opportunities for these young people, where we actually rewarded attempts to be better versus like the fact that there's nothing going on. But it's sad that you can go to school, you can graduate, you can do so well, but you don't even end up having a job. Or if you get a job, it's very menial because they're telling you go to school, do this, do that, be excellent at whatever it is, but there's no reward for that excellence. So what do you have to do? You have to turn around and of course you'll want to take up a life of crime because that's the only way you can survive. So unless and until we're able to fix so many things that's wrong with this country, it's going to be hard to get rid of all of these things. And I know I keep coming back to the whole again, the poverty and all of that, but then if we're not looking at the reasons why crime is being driven up, then we won't get to the bottom of things and we won't get to the solutions.
But we're just gonna do with arrests every day.
But then it's never gonna. What is it? You cut off the head of one snake and then
another one
pops out.
No, but what you said is valid because again, back to the government. A few days ago, I was talking to a family member. We were talking about the road projects and whatnot, and she said. How did she say it? Okay, I'm going to translate. She said, okay, they're building all these roads and we're hungry. Are we going to eat the roads? That's literally what she said. Yeah, they're building the roads, we're hungry. Are we going to eat the roads? Like we mentioned, I mentioned the case of the Minister of Women's Affairs because like I said, it's relevant. In as much as we're seeing a spike in cases, armed robberies around the country, we've also seen an increase in very violent attacks against women. First, there was the case of Marie Mendy, the student who was allegedly raped and killed in her house. Then there was the case of the woman who was abducted by a taxi driver, beaten up, and then left at the Salaji forest. And then there was the case of Mariam Jau as well. I don't know the second woman's name. But then the third case that I also recall is the case of Mariam Jau, the woman who was also allegedly murdered in her house in Maninari. So 2 out of these 3 cases actually happened in their homes. So if you can get attacked and killed in your house, then where are you safe?
Nowhere.
Where are you safe?
I think it was the reader because the second one actually was pretty close. So the crime scene was discovered by my 6-year-old niece. So when I'm talk security, and I heard my mom, she was on the phone, she was speaking at the top of her voice, land, fun, that kind of stuff. Because the kid is a kid, 6 years, imagine now. You walk in and there's blood all over. So she's pretty traumatized. Thankfully, she did not see the body. But Yaya Mokoges, and you look at the mom and it's hit her.
Yeah. Also,
not just because they witnessed that scene, she was the first witness there. But also because they were really, really close. The kids spent all the time fofanono. So they again at their matter mom la de I remember the kid, my niece that discovered him, the brother, but mother first coming in on me. Mama toga baby, and we were all there. So I can't really recall because there was a whole lot of people. But I know that I spoke to her. Was like, so and so for me, it was what exactly is that? Because then there's the murder. that has happened. There's also the implication, and so Smanya's papa was supposed to travel that week. He had to cancel because it's like, this happened right next to my house. What if they come for my wife and my kids next? You know, and this is what everyone is thinking. And I think what's scary about it is the fact that Fumneka, everyone is thinking of getting armed. Because it's become a case of, I need to defend myself, I need to defend my family, I need to defend the people around me. We can't just let it go. And we're seeing an increase of cases for niti di jape sacha, dilen torture, and all of that. I hate it. I don't agree with it. I don't think it is right. It's just to state that this is where we are. And when we get to a point where people are now taking the law into their own hands, then we're living in chaos. We're living in a completely chaotic state. And only God knows what it will lead to. Because you talk to a lot of people, they're telling you clearly. Because the logic is, you know, so it's better younger jeko. And people talk about, oh, sunyo won you jail, like if they just came and stole the stuff and went, you could always walk again for it. As much as it hurts, as much as that's your hard-earned property, you know, but then if they hurt you, if they harm you, if they kill you, what next? That's the thing.
Weapons. That's the problem.
That's the thing. It's the weapons that are pushing people to actually think, I need to get armed. And nobody knows what kind of arms you're going to have. And just thinking about having arms in your home, you know, with your kids, anything can happen. Even so they search and even if there are no robbers, no attackers, nothing, anything can happen just by the fact that you have certain kinds of arms in your home. And so for me, I don't know. And with the Mary Mandy one as well, God rest their souls. For that one, I think I just felt defeated, to be honest. And I wrote that blog and I was like, I didn't know how to be angry anymore. And it was when I was writing that blog that my anger came back to me. Because then I was writing and it was just sinking that nobody really cares. Nobody gives a damn. We can get killed, all of us women in this country. People are going to wake up the next day and continue living their lives. That is our reality. It's been months now. Who knows what the results of the investigation have been? Nobody knows. She was buried. You know, she's been buried. Madam has been buried. You know, who says we're not next? Who's going to be the next person? And what will come out of it?
The case of Marie was very triggering for me because she was actually friends with my younger sister. So my sister was asleep, she woke up, she went on Instagram, and there's also something to be said about how the media reports on these cases, and we'll talk about that. And you know, this crazy thing is now it's not even just the media, it's just people with social media accounts just sharing these stories. So she got on Instagram, and one of the pages, I think Gambia's most hilarious, they had taken a screenshot of Kirfatu's post and then shared it on Instagram. So she's scrolling and then she sees it and she says to me, I'm in my room and I heard her here, Ngone, li digala. And I'm like, and she came and showed me her phone and I'm like, yeah, and she just crashed on the ground and she screamed. For 10 minutes or 15 minutes she was just screaming and I just held her and there was nothing I could do. And I felt so helpless because she was just crying and screaming. And I was like, do you know her? She said, and oh my God. So imagine if it was like that for her. In that case, I think I heard, I watched her older brother was interviewed, and I think one of the things he said was that their parents had actually traveled to Guinea-Bissau. So if a friend of hers could be that traumatized by that, what about the parent who's away and then somebody sends that screenshot to them or they see that in that way? How would they feel?
There's a lot to be said about the way people just rush to, you know, post it. Because even that first post that was posted by that media house, it wasn't like there was a lot of information.
No,
it was a rush to the clicks. It was basically, this is what has happened. We're bringing you more information. That is irresponsible journalism.
But isn't that always the case when there's a traumatic incident?
But that's why it's all click journalism. It's clickbait. They want the clicks because the clicks are what will bring you the ads. The ads bring you the revenue. That's really what it is about.
I'm not even going to lie. That's what stressed me out most about this whole thing. Because why would you do that? Like, do you have a conscience? Do you have a heart? Do you have a soul? Do you have a spirit? Are you human? Because that is I'm trying so hard to just reserve my words and the language that I want to use, but this is clearly something that upsets me beyond measure, because there's no way that in your right mind you would think, okay, if it was my family member, if it was my you know, I hate that you have to personalize it for you to realize how wrong it is. Yeah. Because there's absolutely no way that you can think that it's right in any given direction. Like, how are you, the person that is running the media house, the editors, everyone that is running these media houses, how are you at your big ages with this little common sense? How do you think it's okay to post something like that about someone that's passed, whose family you don't even know if it's reached the family at any point in time, and then you think it's okay? What if it happened to you? How would you feel? How would you feel reading online, not even reading actually, seeing your daughter's blood splatter and finding out that way that she died? You think that's common sense? You think money is worth it for you that much?
And the crazy thing is, once I think, or maybe they ignore it or they don't realize that the moment you post something online, you've lost control over it. Yeah. So it could be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, a family member of one of these victims is, scrolling through social media or just doing something, and then that image pops up somewhere, and then you're triggered and you're just taken back to that day and that moment when you discovered that.
And I think an image that never goes away anyway.
Yes, it never goes away. And we're also, I think we've become so desensitized to people's trauma that we don't even take these things seriously. Aside from the media houses, you're a person, you've seen this on social media. You saved it on your phone and then you post it on your status, or you share it with people. You send it to people. A few weeks ago, I actually told my mom that, one of my uncles would actually share videos or pictures of people who have been maimed, like severely maimed. And I said to her, like, I hate it when people send me these pictures, because I'm the kind of person who, when I see an image, it's stuck in my head forever.
It doesn't go away.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. So why are you sharing that image? What do you gain from sharing that image? If you want to warn people, send an audio message or something. Speak up about it, advise people, warn people, but don't share those images, because really, what do you gain from it? What?
I think it's just the desensitization, like you've talked about, because I don't think people even stop and think before they pass anything around. It's really jotnali, everybody else needs to see it.
And I think even when it comes to black bodies in general, we're so used to seeing, just connecting black bodies with death consistently, globally. It's a global phenomenon, to the point where you see it, you're just like, oh, it's another everyday occurrence, and then you move on from it, which is so bad. Because you can talk about the news, you can tell the news without having to visually put out there. If you're a really great reporter, if you're good at what you're doing, you can tell a story that people can visualize without putting that image there that'll last forever. Ngone, I have a question. Can you sue these media houses for irresponsible journalism?
I really don't. Honestly, I cannot answer that right now.
Okay.
I really don't know. But, it's not. It's even beyond the online media platforms. Even the TV stations, when they report on these cases, they're showing the blood. News,
and they think it's just the blood, but it's not just blood.
And the thing is, what I want to say is that the news is something that everyone watches. Kids watch it. So imagine you're a child and you're watching TV and there's all this blood. And it's good that you mentioned that we're used to seeing black bodies, because it's making me think that from when we were younger, that was when the war in Liberia was on, the war in Sierra Leone was on, and Congo everywhere. So we grew up seeing the black dead bodies everywhere, in pictures, in magazines, on TV, everywhere.
Films,
so
everything.
Yeah.
I just want to add one more, because we're about to go on break. One more thing is how, like, a few months ago, Gemma and I did trainings with media houses, and I did like a survivor/victim-centered approach on how to report cases of sexual violence, and Gemma, yours was mainly on just how to best practices for reporting. And we had feedback about how we're being judgy and blaming the media houses for stuff like this, but it's like, we cannot blame you for things that you're already doing. You cannot go around and be this irresponsible consistently, consecutively, whether it's about these murders, around women, or whether it's sexual violence, whether it's rape, whatever it is. You cannot say that we're judging you when you're not being survivor or victim centered to begin with. People are losing their lives, and the best you can do is, you're not even the best. The best you can do is show a picture of a dead body, or the best you can do is basically accuse the woman of being salacious, of being scandalous.
Right from the headlines.
From the headlines.
Right from the headlines. And then how it also, because that was a really interesting training. My session was supposed to be for an hour. I think it went on for like 2.5 hours. Because what I did basically was just bring examples from what they were doing. The headlines. And I projected, and most of them would, really? Is this a headline? I'm like, it's actually on Gambian media. Yeah. These are things that I picked up from Gambian media. And the sad thing is those were headlines that I got, I think, in 2019 or maybe 2020, I don't know. But if we went back today, you can't really talk about an improvement.
No, there's no improvement.
Whether it is with sexual violence, whether it's with murder, all of these things that are happening, I think they extend a little bit more compassion even after the person dies.
Yeah.
And so it has me asking, do I have to die for you to believe my story of sexual violence? Do I have to be killed for you to have some compassion towards me regarding my experience of sexual assault? Is death really the only thing that will get you to pause and think? And I'm also wondering, is it because in our culture you're told not to speak ill of the dead? Is that the only reason why they're extending a semblance of grace towards victims? This is where we are, unfortunately.
Anyway, we're gonna go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll just continue on victim blaming, and we'll also look at other aspects of it, especially in terms of our justice system and what can be done. So take a deep breath, relax a bit, and we'll be right back.
We're taking deep breaths as we
Welcome back. We hope you've taken a moment to decompress, take some deep breaths. And remember, if you're still feeling triggered and if this is proving very heavy for you, you can take a pause, come back to it another day, take another time. Just do what you need to do to feel better. To continue, I think we should also look at victim blaming. And I know, usually this raises, or it could raise some eyebrows, but because when we talk about victim blaming, we often look at it through the lens of SGBV, sexual violence, gender-based violence, and if it's not that case, then we don't really consider our reaction to that violence as victim blaming. And I think it's important to always bear in mind how we react to people and how it makes those people feel, right? If I'm walking down the street and, God forbid, I get mugged, and you ask why I was walking down that street at 8 a.m. That's victim blaming. You're really blaming me for being robbed, when really what happened was a violation of my person. The same thing happens if someone's house is broken into and then you ask, why didn't you lock your doors? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? That is blaming of that person. And really, it doesn't matter what kind of situation it is or what the person's socio-economic status is. One, nobody deserves violence, period. Like, there's no ifs or buts or whatever. Nobody deserves violence. And that's why when Gemma was speaking about the thieves, I agree when she said that she doesn't like it when thieves or armed robbers are lynched by a mob. You're beaten to a pulp, basically, for committing a crime. No matter what it... And I understand why people react that way, because you're feeling as if the law is not enough, it's not giving you enough justice, so you take the law into your own hands. But then that is violence you're causing to someone, and it's never right. Violence is never right.
You know what's funny? We're quite violent people, but then we're pacifists.
Yes.
We're always advocating for violence, but we're actually pacifists on a greater scale. And I think we're all quite anti-capitalist and all of that. But I think I want to say that trauma does not have a race, it does not have a religion, it does not have a socioeconomic status, it does not have a gender, it does not have any class. Trauma is extremely cross-cutting, and especially if you want to do any kind of solidarity with anybody, you have to take into account that just because they have millions in the bank or at home does not change the fact that they could also be victims or survivors of very traumatic situations that will take lifetimes, not even one lifetime, but lifetimes to overcome. So when we tend to not even just victim blame, but feel like when something happens to someone, I guess it is victim blaming, it's okay because you know, why did they do this, why did they do that? You really have to sit down and reevaluate what's driving you to think that kind of way, and are you really empathetic? Are you pro human life? Are you pro anything? Do you even believe in any of the feminist values that you think you have, or any of the humanist values that you think you have? If you're fine with blaming someone for whatever tragedy has befallen them.
I think all of this comes down to seeing ourselves and each other as beyond or above everything, as humans first. No matter what somebody's socioeconomic status is and what you think of them, what you think of their way of life, ultimately we're all human. And basically, as human beings, no human being deserves to live through trauma. No human being deserves violence. The same way you don't want violence perpetrated against you or anyone of your kind, it's the same way you should, not want it to be perpetrated against someone else, irrespective of what they are, how they are living their lives. Because, as you said, trauma is trauma. It happens to everyone. Just today, I saw an article of Prince Harry talking about how he resorted to drugs and alcohol because of his mom's death, because he didn't know how to deal with that. So it doesn't matter whether you were born into a royal family or you were born into, a very underprivileged family. You feel what you feel. We're all human ultimately, and it's about having empathy and compassion towards another person, another human being, irrespective of what you think of how they live their lives. That's really how I see it.
Obviously, unless of course that person is a racist, a sexist, is just a very violent human being, then we can obviously talk about other forms of, I wouldn't say compassion, but like, unless they're trying to change their ways, and there's always, I guess, hope for redemption for people. But right now we're not talking about extreme cases of where people are just being bad towards other people. We're talking about human beings who literally have done nothing but mind their business and are trying not to get killed.
And that's literally everyone in this country right now. We're all trying to not get killed.
Everyone is scared.
Like, we can talk about wealth distribution. We can talk about all these other things that I personally also believe in as someone that is very anti-capitalist. But you have to know when to be sensible and when to talk about certain things and when not to talk about them.
Yeah. Anyway, but I also think some of these reactions are a result of, people react this way because of our weak justice system. We react this way to these acts because of our weak justice system. Yes, people are getting arrested, but what's happening after their arrest? You catch a thief or an armed robber in your house, you take them to the police station, and a lot of people will tell you that, the next thing you know, the person will be roaming around the streets. They'll be out on bail, and do it all over again. I see some of these videos of people being beaten and being lynched, and they'll be saying things like, oh, I'll never do it again, I'll never do it again. And I watch it and I know for sure this person, the moment they're released on bail, they would go back to doing what they were doing because that's what they know. But, a lot can be said about our justice system, I think.
We can't even, I think all of this is really up to the point that there's no justice. If people feel like they're not going to get justice, they're going to take it into their own hands. And that is what has led, it's no excuse for what people are doing because it's violence, it's torture, it's wrong. They're also violating the human rights of those people. But it's because they have no faith, in the systems that are supposed to protect us, in the people who are paid to protect us.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a free service that they're providing. People live in this country, they're working, they're paying their taxes. People just want to be able to live in peace.
Yeah.
Without fear of somebody breaking into your house. I can't even say at night now because they do it in the morning.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So people just want to imagine the one place that you call home that you always go back to, that you feel is safe. In a way,
it's a site of trauma.
It's the place where somebody comes and violates your privacy. They violate, your entire space. That's not something that's gonna go away.
No,
it's not something that's gonna go away.
And I want to add again. This is back to just in terms of wealth redistribution. if the government was actually doing their jobs of distributing our, the country's money and the country's wealth versus pocketing it and growing pot bellies, then a lot of the things that we're dealing with now, we wouldn't have to deal with it. Because if people feel like they're comfortable enough in the country and they're making enough money to take care of their families and to survive in the way that they need to survive, crime would go down significantly.
It would.
I'm not saying that's the only factor, but in any research that you look at, in any country that you look at, or in any, not even countries, but in even little pockets of society, if people are well taken care of and all their actual needs, such as food, housing, security, are met, they have very little reason to go out and try and do criminal activity. It's common sense. But then common sense is not common with our government.
Because people are not even asking for too much if you think about it.
No.
People just want to be able to survive every day.
And the thing is, we have a lot of like little fires burning around and they're being ignored. You have the poverty, as Hadi said, but then you also have youth being deported from Europe,
the land issues,
lack of jobs, drug use, increased drug use, that
which
everyone
will have
knows
an
is
episode
happening.
on.
You mentioned drug use. All of these things are happening, and we're just we're looking at these incidents as isolated incidents, but they're really not isolated. You look at them and they're all connected.
They're literally symptoms.
They're symptoms of a broken society.
You talk about the deportations, and it reminds me of a conversation I had. This was, I think, 2015, 16 maybe, while I was with UNICEF. So it's when we were doing those stories on the back way, the migration stuff. And it was a time when they were like sending back a lot of people with the whole UN program around reintegration and return and whatnot. And the person looked at me and said, I fear for where the Gambia is going to go, because these are people who have seen it all. And at this point, we were talking about how they came with promises of being given reintegration packages, and they were not seeing any of that, and already getting frustrated. They can't get any jobs because no skill, nothing at all. And the person told me, these are people who have seen it all. In the desert. You understand? They've seen it all.
They've had to do worse things to survive.
In their presence. These are things that they have lived through. In those situations, they're just survivors. They were able to escape the brutality there. And he was like, I don't know what it's going to look like in a few years in this country, but I wouldn't be surprised if our crime rates go up, because they've seen it all. Then them come all of them at Nick. You understand? They can't feel. You understand? And I did not want to say this because I don't also want to use it as an excuse or sort of like dismiss their trauma to say. But then I just recalled that once you mentioned the deported, I just recalled, but it's also coupled with the frustrations they're facing. First, they were frustrated to a point where they had to go, despite the risks that everybody knows about. They come back after everything they've been through, after everything they've seen. They come back and it's actually worse now, because now they also have that tag of Dembinyo, back way attorney. Nobody wants to employ you. Nobody wants to have anything to do with you. You're dealing with stigma at home, in the streets, and whatever places that you're going to. All of these things all together could just blow up.
And I'm also thinking about, these are really, really great points, but it just came to my mind how instead of facing the actual facts that it's our people that are perpetuating these crimes, we tend to be very xenophobic about it.
Yes.
And then we will blame everyone, the foreigners. Senegalese, we will blame Senegalese, Nigerians, our West African counterparts. They're the problem, but it's not us. It's not, what people have actually faced in this country that's turning them into who they are. No, our Gambia is peaceful. It's the smiling coast. People come in and want to ruin it.
And we're incapable of committing harm, and it's sad.
We didn't breed Jammeh. We didn't breed the junglers. We didn't breed any of them. No.
Even, those are extreme cases, but even with the small violence that even people that you wouldn't name right now, all of that is us. That is who we are. But I think it's easier and more comfortable to just deny and say, oh, this is not us, this is somebody else, than it is for us to actually accept that this is a part of who we are. And unless we accept that and try to understand where it is coming from, we're not going to find solutions. And we're just going to keep talking, unfortunately.
Anyway, I think at this point, talking is all we can do, and we're hoping that the government who is responsible for fixing this situation is actually listening to people's cries, because it's literally everywhere. People are speaking up over the radio, on social media, on TV, everywhere people are speaking up, and I hope our government is listening to people and understanding that people are scared and take the necessary steps to protect people. We need protection. People are scared, and rightly so. Anyway,
I wish I could say I was hopeful.
I'm not hopeful either, but what can we do? As we say in the Gambia, yala bahna.
So we're going to move on to this segment, even though on this episode you can't hear us scream and shout and talk about our favorite segment. But it's the reality of what we're living. It's not always peaches and cream. It's not always the laughter. And so for Musso of the Week, this time for this episode, we've decided to honor the memory of the women who have been assaulted, who've lost their lives from these crimes that we're seeing in the country, specifically naming Mary Mendy and Madam Jao, the most recent cases that we're aware of, and really just honoring their memory and honoring the fact that they deserved to live. They deserve to be here with us. It is by no fault of theirs that what happened to them, that who did that to them, did that to them. They deserve to be here today. They deserve to be listening to this podcast and being honored in a different way, alive, well, loved by the people that love them and know them. But this is the reality that we're dealing with. And so we just want to honor their memory and the memory of the many cases that we probably never even get to hear about. And we're just saying it's such a sad situation. It's a sad case that this is the life that we have to live. But maybe we can hold on hope that together, among ourselves, we will be able to be there for one another. Because I saw a lot of solidarity when especially the Mary Mendy case happened. People just reminding one another, take care of yourself. Do you need something? You know, just that community, if nothing at all for me, helps a lot. Even if, you know, the ultimate wish is that this does not continue to happen. So we're honoring, so for Musso of the Week, we're honoring those women and those girls. We do not know all of your names. We may not know all of your stories, but we carry you in our hearts. We carry you in our memories, and we pray that you find peaceful rest wherever you are.
All right, so we know, again, this was a very heavy episode, but we thank you for listening, for making it all the way through. And as always, we are looking forward to your questions and your feedback, and just, you know, a way to keep the conversation going, especially on how we hold the people that we're supposed to hold accountable on everything that's going on in this country and everything that's happening to us. So thank you so much again for listening.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening and for joining with us. So like Hadi said, you can share your thoughts with us. Let us know, you know, how you are going through these times. Do you have any coping mechanisms you can share that maybe other people could benefit from? We're on social media everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Musso Podcast. And you can also share your thoughts using our hashtag. That's hashtag MUSSOPOD. And we'll be happy to read from you and engage with you to just carry this conversation forward.
All right, thank you everyone. And as usual, we cannot close this session without thanking Right Click for an amazing production and for always being here with us. We're truly grateful. And also thank you to our accessibility directors, Aissatou Suare and Aissatou Diallo. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we hope you have a great week, a peaceful week, a blessed week, and we hope you take care of yourself and you stay as safe as possible. Until next week, bye.